We had chased whispers and shadows across continents, following a trail of cryptic clues and unsettling encounters. From the moment humanity first looked upon the world, we have craved to understand its secrets. We've chased the whispers of forgotten stories, legends passed down through generations. These tales, often tinged with fear and wonder, speak of hidden places and objects imbued with an unknown power. They tell of curses and forgotten histories, of treasures lost and the echoes of those who sought them. Some believe these are nothing more than fables, cautionary tales spun to keep the curious at bay. But we, the intrepid few, know better. We feel the pull of the unknown, the irresistible allure of the mysteries that lay buried beneath layers of time and dust, the thrill of the chase, the possibility of uncovering something truly extraordinary fuels our insatiable curiosity. Our journey begins with a rumor, a whisper of something ancient and powerful hidden away from prying eyes. The legend speaks of a relic, its purpose lost to time, its existence shrouded in whispers and shadows. This is not just some historical artifact. It is something more, something that resonates with an energy that feels both alluring and dangerous. We have pieced together the fragments of a map, a trail of breadcrumbs leading us across continents and oceans to forgotten corners of the world. Each location on this map is more than just a dot on a faded parchment. It is a place where the veil between our world and the next wears thin. Haunted places, where the echoes of the past linger. Places where the air hums with an unsettling energy. The rusted hull of the Sea Dog, a freighter swallowed by the sea decades ago, pierced the choppy waters like a decaying ribcage. The air hung thick with the smell of salt and decay, a pungent aroma that spoke of the relentless march of time and the unforgiving nature of the sea. Gulls circled overhead, their sharp cries echoing the desolation that clung to the wreck like a shroud. As our boat cut through the waves towards the decaying hulk, a sense of unease settled over us, a prickling sensation in the skin that hinted at the tragedy that had unfolded within those rusted walls. The Sea Dog had once been a vessel of commerce, carrying goods across the vast expanse of the ocean. But now it served as a grim reminder of the power of the sea and the fragility of human ambition. We approached cautiously, the hull looming larger with every passing moment. The metal groaned and creaked with the rhythm of the waves, a symphony of decay that sent shivers down our spines. The Sea Dog was more than just a shipwreck. It was a steel coffin, its depths holding secrets lost to the depths of time. Climbing aboard the rusted deck felt like stepping into another world, a forgotten realm where the air hung heavy with the weight of past horrors. The metal groaned beneath our feet, and the wind howled through the gaps in the hull, whistling tales of despair and madness. Every gust seemed to whisper the name of the captain, a man driven to the brink by forces unknown. The ship's log, half-burned and reeking of seawater, lay open on the chart table in the wheelhouse. The captain's final entries were a chaotic jumble of frantic scribbles, each word etched onto the page with a desperation that spoke volumes. He wrote of shadows moving in the fog, of voices whispering from the depths, and of a presence that clung to him like a curse. The captain's quarters, once a place of command and solitude, were in a state of disarray. Drawers hung open, their contents spilled across the floor like the remnants of a desperate struggle. Clothing lay strewn about, ripped and torn, as if the captain had been clawing at his own skin in a fit of madness. The air hung thick with the stench of fear and seawater, a potent combination that made our stomachs churn. On the wall, scratched into the metal bulkhead with what must have been a desperate fury, was a message that chilled us to the bone. It was a single sentence, repeated over and over again, each repetition a testament to the captain's unraveling sanity. The sea wants its due. The captain's descent into madness was palpable in those words, a stark reminder of the power of the sea to consume even the strongest of wills. It was a chilling thought, realizing that we were now walking the same decks where a man had lost his grip on reality, driven to the brink by forces we could only begin to comprehend. The air seemed to crackle with an unseen energy, the remnants of the captain's final moments. We pushed deeper into the bowels of the ship, our flashlights cutting through the gloom, illuminating the path ahead. The air grew colder, the metallic tang of rust mingling with the scent of decay. The ship groaned and shifted beneath our feet, a constant reminder of the precarious nature of our exploration.
Behind a loose panel in the captain's quarters, we discovered a hidden compartment. Inside, nestled amongst a pile of rotting cloth and rusted tools, lay a sealed metal tube. It was cold to the touch, the metal slick with condensation.
A sense of anticipation hung heavy in the air as we carefully extracted the tube from its hiding place. The tube was surprisingly heavy, and a quick shake revealed something solid inside. It was a race against time now, the weight of the captain's madness pressing down on us as we worked feverishly to pry open the rusted seal.
The air crackled with anticipation as the seal finally gave way, revealing a tightly rolled piece of parchment inside. Unfurling the parchment, we found a set of coordinates scrawled across it in faded ink. The numbers were accompanied by a single chilling sentence, written in the same frantic hand as the message on the bulkhead. The first key to what lies beneath.
The captain's final act, it seemed, was not one of despair, but of guidance. He had left us a breadcrumb trail, a path to follow into the heart of the mystery. The question was, were we brave enough to follow it? The azure waters of the Bahamas shimmered under the midday sun, a stark contrast to the cold, steel tomb we were about to enter. The coordinates led us to a patch of ocean that seemed to hold its breath, the surface unusually still, as if the sea itself were paying respects to the secrets hidden below. As we prepared our diving gear, a palpable tension crackled in the air, a mixture of anticipation and dread. Descending into the ocean depths was like entering a different world, one of muted blues and greens, where sunlight struggled to penetrate the growing darkness. The pressure increased with every foot of depth, a physical reminder of the immense weight of water above us. Schools of fish darted past, their scales catching the faint light, their movements a mesmerizing dance against the backdrop of the abyss. Then, emerging from the gloom, a silhouette took shape. The World War II spy plane, its once sleek form now encrusted with barnacles and coral, lay on the seabed like a fallen warrior. It was a haunting sight, a metal carcass slowly being reclaimed by the ocean, its secrets guarded by the passage of time and the crushing pressure of the deep. As we swam closer, the plane's skeletal frame loomed larger, its propellers frozen in a silent ballet. The cockpit glass, once crystal clear, was now a spiderweb of cracks, obscuring the ghostly visages of the pilot and his secrets. We circled the wreck cautiously, our lights cutting through the murky water, illuminating the plane's faded markings and the eerie beauty of the coral growth that clung to its wings like macabre floral arrangements. The plane's interior was a cramped and eerie space, the air thick with the smell of decay and the ghosts of a bygone era. The leather of the seats had long since rotted away, leaving only the metal frames exposed like skeletal remains. The instrument panels, once a symphony of dials and gauges, were now corroded and silent, their needles frozen in time. Swimming through the wreckage, we felt the weight of history pressing down on us. Each piece of twisted metal, each shattered gauge, whispered tales of a conflict fought long ago, of lives lost and secrets buried beneath the waves. The plane, once a symbol of power and innovation, was now a tomb, a silent testament to the destructive nature of war. We moved cautiously, our movements restricted by the narrow passageways and the ever-present fear of disturbing the plane's fragile structure. The dim glow of our flashlights danced across the interior, illuminating the ghostly outlines of the pilot's seat, the control stick, the pedals where his feet would have rested in those final, terrifying moments. The air seemed to hum with an unseen energy, the remnants of fear and adrenaline that must have filled the cockpit as the plane plunged towards its watery grave. Our fingers, encased in thick gloves, traced the contours of the plane's interior, searching for any sign of the clue that had led us to this underwater graveyard. Time seemed to slow to a crawl as we worked. The only sounds our own breathing and the steady thump of our hearts echoing in our ears. The pressure of the water, the darkness that enveloped us, the knowledge that we were surrounded by the ghosts of the past. It all combined to create an atmosphere of almost unbearable tension. Behind a cracked instrument panel, wedged between a tangle of wires and rusted metal, we discovered a small, leather pouch. It was stiff with age and seawater, its surface covered in a layer of sediment.
Carefully, we extracted it from its resting place, our hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. What secrets did this small pouch hold, and what new dangers would its discovery unleash?
Inside the pouch, protected from the ravages of time and the ocean, was a set of dog tags. The metal was tarnished, the inscription barely visible beneath a layer of rust and corrosion. But as we brushed away the debris, the name etched onto the metal sent a chill down our spines. X-32 WWII. It was a code name, a whisper from a forgotten chapter of history.
The discovery of the dog tags raised more questions than it answered. Who was this mysterious X-32 WWII, and what was he carrying on that fateful flight? What secrets died with him in this watery grave, and why were we now caught in their web?
The weight of the unknown pressed down on us, heavier than the water that surrounded us. We had come seeking answers, but it seemed we had only found more riddles. The air hung heavy with the scent of stagnant water and decay as our boat sliced through the murky canals of Xochimilco. Towering trees, their branches draped in Spanish moss like ghostly shrouds, lined the waterways, their roots clawing at the banks as if trying to escape the oppressive atmosphere. A sense of foreboding settled over us, a palpable unease that clung to us like the humidity. Ahead, shrouded in an ethereal mist, lay the Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. It was a place out of nightmares, a macabre spectacle that defied rational explanation. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of dolls, their once bright eyes now vacant and staring, hung from every available surface: trees, fences, walls. Even the water itself seemed to hold them in its murky embrace. As we drew closer, the dolls seemed to multiply, their lifeless gazes following our every move. Some were missing limbs, their bodies twisted and broken, while others were remarkably intact, their porcelain faces frozen in expressions of perpetual sorrow or malevolent glee. It was as if the island itself were a living entity, its surface crawling with a grotesque parody of life. Stepping onto the island felt like crossing an invisible threshold, a boundary between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The air grew colder, the silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and the distant cawing of crows. The dolls, bathed in the eerie glow of the filtered sunlight, seemed to watch our every move, their silence more unnerving than any scream. The island was a labyrinth of narrow pathways and overgrown vegetation, each turn revealing a new tableau of doll-related horror. Some were arranged in macabre vignettes, a tea party of dismembered dolls, a wedding procession of eyeless brides, a classroom of headless students. Each display was a testament to a mind teetering on the edge of madness, a glimpse into the darkest recesses of the human psyche. The silence was broken only by the occasional whisper of the wind through the trees, a sound that carried with it the faint echo of children's laughter, a chilling reminder of the island's tragic history. Legend had it that the dolls were placed there by a grieving caretaker, a man driven to madness by the drowning death of a young girl in the canal. He believed the dolls would appease her spirit, protect the island from further tragedy.
But the island felt far from protected. It felt like a place of immense sorrow, a focal point for something ancient and malevolent. The dolls were more than just discarded toys. They were vessels, their empty eyes reflecting something sinister lurking beneath the surface.
We pressed on, our footsteps echoing on the uneven ground, our flashlights cutting through the gloom, desperately seeking the next clue in our perilous treasure hunt. The weight of the island's history, the palpable sense of dread that permeated every inch of the air, made it difficult to think clearly. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a branch, sent shivers down our spines, our imaginations conjuring up horrors that lurked just beyond the reach of our senses. The silence of the Oregon forest was the first thing that struck us, an unnatural, heavy silence that seemed to muffle sound itself. The air, thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, felt strangely still, as if the very wind were holding its breath. Our footsteps on the forest floor were muffled by a thick carpet of moss and decaying leaves, each step carrying us deeper into a realm untouched by the passage of time. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy of towering evergreens, casting long, eerie shadows that danced and shifted with our every move. The air grew colder as we ventured deeper into the woods, a chilling reminder of the secrets hidden beneath the lush facade. It was as if the forest itself were watching us, its ancient trees, silent sentinels guarding the mysteries held within their ancient embrace. We had followed the journal's cryptic instructions, our compass guiding us through a maze of winding trails and overgrown logging roads. Each step carried us further away from civilization, deeper into a realm where reality seemed to bend and distort. The GPS on our phones had long since stopped functioning, replaced by the unsettling feeling that we were being watched, our every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. There was a stillness to the forest that was more unnerving than any sound. The usual symphony of birdsong and rustling leaves was absent, replaced by an oppressive silence broken only by the crunch of our own footsteps. Even the air seemed thick with anticipation, as if the forest itself were holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The twisted wreckage of the plane materialized through the swirling mist like a phantom from a forgotten nightmare. Its fuselage, ripped open by the force of the crash, lay half buried in the undergrowth, a skeletal reminder of a bygone era swallowed by the relentless march of nature. The metal, once gleaming, was now a canvas of rust and decay, a testament to the unforgiving embrace of the forest. Trees had grown up around the wreckage, their roots entwined with the plane's shattered wings, as if trying to reclaim the metal beast for the earth. The windows of the cockpit were dark, empty sockets, staring out into the forest, like the eyes of a long-dead creature. It was a scene of both eerie beauty and unsettling desolation, a place frozen in time, forever haunted by the echoes of a tragedy long past. As we approached the downed aircraft, a palpable sense of unease settled over us. The silence of the forest seemed to deepen, the air growing colder, as if the very atmosphere around the plane were charged with a strange and unsettling energy. It was as if we were intruding on hallowed ground, a place where the veil between the living and the dead felt perilously thin. We circled the wreckage cautiously, our flashlights cutting through the gloom, illuminating the ghostly outlines of the plane's interior. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay and something else, something metallic and sharp, that made our nostrils sting. It was the smell of old secrets, of a history buried deep and best left undisturbed. The plane's interior was a chaotic jumble of twisted metal and shattered glass. The seats, ripped from their moorings, lay scattered across the floor like discarded toys. The instrument panels were frozen in a silent scream of malfunctioning dials and shattered gauges. their needles pointing to readings that made no sense in this timeless void.
We moved carefully among the wreckage, our voices hushed in the presence of something we couldn't quite define. The air was thick with the weight of the unknown, the feeling that we were treading on forbidden ground. Every creak of the plane's metal skin, every rustle of the wind through the broken windows sent shivers down our spines.
In the back of the plane, tucked away behind what remained of the cockpit, we discovered a metal locker, its door hanging open precariously. Inside, amidst a tangle of wires and a scattering of what looked like old military ration packs, we found a small wooden box. It was ornately carved with strange symbols that seemed to writhe and shift in the dim light of our flashlights.
The box was locked, but the wood was old and dry. With a little effort, we managed to pry it open. Inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, lay a single tarnished coin. It was heavier than it looked, the metal cold to the touch. On one side, it bore the image of a crescent moon and a star. On the other, a symbol we had seen before, etched into the pages of the journal we had found on the island of the dolls.
It was a symbol that seemed to hum with an energy all its own. A symbol that whispered of ancient powers and forgotten truths. The desert stretched out before us, an endless expanse of sand and sky, baking under the relentless sun. It was a landscape that whispered of forgotten empires and ancient secrets, where the silence was broken only by the occasional howl of the wind. And then, rising from the shimmering heat haze on the horizon, we saw it, the ghost town of Little Anatolia, a collection of weathered buildings huddled together like mourners around an open grave. Our jeep bounced and rattled along the dirt track that served as the only road into town. The closer we got, the more unsettling the atmosphere became. The silence was absolute. No birdsong, no insects, not even the whisper of the wind. It was as if the very air were holding its breath, watching our arrival with a mixture of curiosity and dread. The buildings themselves were a strange hodgepodge of architectural styles. Victorian storefronts with peeling paint, a faded Art Deco cinema with its marquee long since collapsed, a crumbling saloon with its swinging doors frozen at an unnatural angle. It was as if someone had plucked these buildings from different eras, different continents even, and deposited them here in the middle of the desert with no regard for rhyme or reason. As we drove down the deserted main street, a chill ran down my spine. There was something deeply unsettling about this place, something more than just the usual melancholy of a ghost town. It was the mannequins. They were everywhere, peering out from behind dusty windows, propped up against lampposts, scattered across the sidewalks like victims of some silent massacre. The mannequins were eerily lifelike, their faces frozen in expressions of blank indifference or unsettling smiles. They were dressed in clothes that spoke of another era. Flapper dresses with fraying hemlines, pinstripe suits with moth-eaten lapels, faded gingham dresses on small, child-sized forms.
It was as if the inhabitants of Little Anatolia had simply stepped out of their lives one day, leaving behind their empty shells like discarded husks.
We parked the Jeep in front of what had once been the town bank, its grand facade now cracked and faded. The door creaked open on rusty hinges, revealing a cavernous interior shrouded in shadows. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay, and the only sound was the echo of our own footsteps on the wooden floorboards.
As my eyes adjusted to the gloom, I noticed that even the bank was populated by mannequins.
They were seated at desks, frozen in the act of counting money or poring over ledgers. Their lifeless eyes seemed to follow our every move, their silence more unnerving than any scream. We fanned out, our flashlights cutting through the gloom, searching for any sign of the stone chest mentioned in the journal. The air was thick with tension, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us like a physical force. Every creak of the floorboards, every sigh of the wind through the broken windows, sent our pulses racing.
Behind the teller's counter, we discovered a heavy vault door, its metal surface scarred with scratches and dents. It was locked, but the mechanism was old and rusty.
Jax, ever resourceful, managed to pick the lock with a piece of wire and a well-placed twist of his wrist. The door swung open with a groan, revealing a small, dusty chamber beyond. The vault was surprisingly bare. A single wooden table sat in the center of the room, illuminated by a shaft of sunlight that pierced through a crack in the ceiling. And on the table, resting on a bed of faded velvet, was the stone chest.
It was smaller than we had imagined, no bigger than a shoebox.
The stone was a deep, almost black obsidian, intricately carved with symbols and patterns that seemed to writhe and shift in the dim light. The air around the chest felt different, charged with an energy that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. We gathered around the table, our breaths catching in our throats. This was it, the culmination of our journey, the moment of truth. Jax. His hands trembling slightly, I reached out and placed my gloved fingers on the chest's lid. It was ice cold to the touch, as if the stone itself were imbued with some unnatural chill. With a slow, deliberate movement, I lifted the lid. The hinges, despite centuries of neglect, made no sound. Inside, nestled on a bed of yellowed silk, lay a hand-sized obsidian statue, its surface polished to a mirror sheen. It was a masterpiece of ancient craftsmanship, its features both beautiful and unsettlingly alien. The statue's eyes, inlaid with lapis lazuli, seemed to glow with an eerie inner light, as if the artifact itself were somehow alive. Jax. A hush fell over the room as we stared down at the statue. This was no mere historical artifact. This was something more. Something ancient and powerful. Something that emanated an aura of both immense age and unsettling vitality. As I looked at the statue, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had stumbled upon something we were never meant to find. Something that had been hidden for a reason. The statue rested heavy in Jax's hands, its obsidian surface cool against his gloves. Even in the dim light filtering through the cracks in the bank vault's ceiling, the lapis lazuli eyes seemed to gleam with an unnatural intensity, as if the artifact were aware of our presence, scrutinizing us with an ancient and inscrutable gaze.
The air, thick with dust and the silence of ages, crackled with an unseen energy, a palpable hum that vibrated through the room, seeming to emanate from the statue itself.
We had chased whispers and shadows across continents, following a trail of cryptic clues and unsettling encounters, all leading to this moment, this forgotten corner of the world, this dusty vault in a town seemingly erased from time. Each location we had visited, each challenge we had overcome, had chipped away at the layers of mystery surrounding the relic, revealing glimpses of a history both grand and terrifying.
From the rusting hulk of the sea dog to the watery grave of the spy plane, from the unsettling stillness of the Oregon forest to the silent, watchful gaze of the dolls on that cursed island, each step of our journey had brought us closer to this artifact, this echo of empires long vanished, this testament to a power that time itself seemed unable to diminish. But as we stood there, the weight of our discovery pressing down on us, a chilling realization dawned. We had sought a treasure, a relic of the past, a tangible connection to a forgotten history. What we had found was something far more profound and far more dangerous.
The statue was more than just an object. It was a key, an artifact that whispered of a hidden world, a world of ancient powers and forgotten truths, a world that existed just beyond the veil of our everyday reality. And we, through our relentless pursuit, had unwittingly brushed against that veil, had peered into the abyss, and felt its gaze upon us.
As I turned the statue over in my hands, tracing the intricate carvings that adorned its surface, a sense of foreboding settled over us.
We had unlocked the secrets of the past, but in doing so, we had opened a door to something unknown, something vast and ancient, something that had been hidden for a reason. The world, we realized, was a tapestry woven from threads of both the mundane and the extraordinary. For every legend dismissed as mere folklore, for every whisper lost to the wind, there existed a kernel of truth, a glimpse into a realm where the impossible was not only possible, but inevitable.
And we, the intrepid few, the seekers of forgotten lore and hidden truths, were the ones who dared to pull at those threads, unraveling the tapestry to reveal the wonders and the horrors that lay beneath. But the journey was far from over.
The discovery of the statue was not the end, but merely the beginning. There were more relics scattered across the globe, more whispers waiting to be heard, more secrets yearning to be unearthed.
And we, bound by our curiosity and a thirst for knowledge that could not be quenched, were compelled to continue our pursuit, to delve deeper into the shadows, to unravel the mysteries of a world that was at once familiar and profoundly strange.
The game, it seemed, had just begun.